Hello everyone, I'm Ethan Cole and welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to tell you one of the most incredible business stories in modern history, the story of NVIDIA and its founder Jensen Huang. A company that spent decades fighting for survival before becoming one of the most valuable businesses on Earth. This isn't just a story about technology, it's a story about vision, persistence, and making the right bet before the rest of the world sees it. It all started in a humble booth at a Denny's diner in 1993, where the vision for the future of computing was born. Business Lesson 1: The Power of Shared Vision. Jensen and his co-founders didn't just want to build chips, they wanted to revolutionize how we experience the digital world. Today, NVIDIA is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Its technology powers artificial intelligence, supercomputers, and self-driving cars. But in 1993, none of that existed. Three engineers sat inside a small restaurant discussing an idea that most people thought would fail. Jensen Huang was born in Taiwan. As a child, his family moved to the United States seeking opportunity. The transition wasn't easy. Language barriers, cultural differences, and financial challenges. But these experiences taught him resilience. Jensen loved technology. He studied electrical engineering and learned how computer chips were designed and sold. In 1993, Jensen and his co-founders believed graphics would become a massive industry. Most investors disagreed. The company was named NVIDIA. At the time, nobody knew what a GPU was. The term barely existed. The founders believed graphics processing would become essential. The world wasn't convinced. Building chips is expensive. NVIDIA burned through money quickly. Competition was everywhere. Every mistake could be fatal. NVIDIA's early products struggled. The company was running out of money. At one point, Jensen estimated the company had roughly 30 days left before collapse. But NVIDIA adapted. In 1999, NVIDIA launched the GeForce 256. The company called it the world's first GPU. Suddenly, gamers wanted it. Developers wanted it. The market noticed. NVIDIA had survived. But survival was only the beginning. Soon the company would face a crisis that destroyed thousands of businesses. The dot-com crash. The dot-com crash would destroy thousands of technology companies, and NVIDIA would have to fight for survival once again. The late 1990s were filled with excitement. Technology stocks were soaring. Investors poured money into internet companies. Many believed the boom would last forever, but history had other plans. In 2000, the bubble burst. Technology stocks collapsed. Billions of dollars disappeared. Thousands of companies vanished. Businesses that once seemed unstoppable suddenly went bankrupt. The entire industry entered survival mode. Many investors feared NVIDIA would become another victim. The company was still young. Competition was intense. Resources were limited. Every decision mattered. During difficult times, leadership matters. Jensen Huang had a unique approach. He encouraged brutal honesty. Employees were expected to challenge ideas. Bad news traveled quickly. Problems were discussed openly. The goal wasn't comfort. The goal was improvement. At the same time, NVIDIA faced a powerful competitor, TI Technologies. Both companies were racing to dominate graphics. Each product launch felt like a battle. Each innovation could shift market leadership. The competition pushed both companies forward. As video games became more advanced, demand for graphics power exploded. Gamers wanted realism. Developers wanted performance. NVIDIA was perfectly positioned. The company continued improving its GPUs while competitors struggled to keep pace. Most companies viewed GPUs as tools for games. NVIDIA saw something bigger. The company believed graphics processors could solve far more than visual problems. That idea would eventually change the entire technology industry. In 2006, NVIDIA introduced something called CUDA. At first glance, it seemed like a technical software platform, but CUDA represented a revolutionary idea. What if GPUs could be used for general-purpose computing? Not just games, not just graphics, anything. The problem was simple. Almost nobody cared. Gamers wanted better graphics. Businesses wanted faster computers. Few people understood why CUDA mattered. The investment seemed risky, expensive, and uncertain. But Jensen Huang wasn't building for the next quarter. He was building for the next decade. He believed GPU computing would eventually become essential. The company continued investing, even when the financial returns were unclear. Many public companies focus on short-term results. NVIDIA focused on long-term advantages. This mindset allowed the company to make investments competitors avoided. Years later, those investments would become some of the most valuable decisions in technology history. The dot-com crash eliminated countless technology companies. NVIDIA survived. The company emerged stronger, more experienced, and increasingly confident in its vision. Looking back, this period wasn't about explosive growth. It was about preparation. Preparation for opportunities nobody could yet see. Preparation for industries that didn't yet exist. Preparation for the future. By 2006, NVIDIA had survived intense competition. It had survived economic collapse. It had survived near failure. But the company's most important chapter was about to begin. a chapter that would eventually lead to artificial intelligence. The world still thought NVIDIA was a gaming company, but hidden inside its technology was the foundation for a revolution that would eventually transform science, business, medicine, and artificial intelligence. In 2006, most people thought GPUs existed for one purpose: gaming, better graphics, faster frame rates. But NVIDIA's engineers saw something unusual. GPUs weren't just good at graphics, they were incredibly good at performing thousands of calculations simultaneously. Traditional computer processors were designed to perform tasks one after another. They were powerful, but they weren't optimized for massive parallel workloads. GPUs were different. They could perform many calculations at the same time. For certain problems, they were dramatically faster. CUDA allowed programmers to unlock that power. For the first time, developers could use GPUs for far more than graphics. Researchers began experimenting. Scientists began testing. Universities began exploring new possibilities. Slowly, a new ecosystem emerged. For years, very few people paid attention. There were no headlines, no viral announcements. NVIDIA kept investing anyway. This would become one of Jensen Huang's greatest strengths: the willingness to invest years before the market understood why. As the internet grew, data exploded. Websites generated information. Smartphones generated information. Businesses generated information. Suddenly, organizations faced a new challenge. How do you process all this data? At the same time, cloud computing began changing technology. Companies no longer needed massive computer rooms. They could rent computing power from remote data centers. Demand for processing power increased dramatically, and NVIDIA's technology fit perfectly into this new world. Researchers discovered something surprising. NVIDIA GPUs could accelerate scientific workloads, medical research, physics simulations, weather forecasting. Complex calculations that once took days could now be completed much faster. Then came a breakthrough few people noticed at the time. Researchers working on artificial intelligence discovered that GPUs were ideal for training neural networks. Training AI required enormous computational power, and NVIDIA had spent years building exactly what they needed. In 2012, an AI system called AlexNet shocked the technology world. Using NVIDIA GPUs, researchers achieved dramatic improvements in image recognition. Suddenly, artificial intelligence looked far more powerful than many experts believed. The industry took notice. Many technology companies saw the breakthrough. Few understood its significance. Most still viewed AI as a niche research field. Jensen Huang saw something much bigger. He believed artificial intelligence would transform entire industries. Instead of focusing only on gaming, NVIDIA invested heavily in AI. The decision wasn't obvious. There was no guarantee of success. But Jensen believed the opportunity was enormous. The company doubled down. NVIDIA didn't just build chips, it built tools, software, developer platforms, training resources. The company created an ecosystem that made it easier for customers to succeed. Competitors could copy hardware, but copying an ecosystem was much harder. Years of software development created a powerful advantage. The deeper customers integrated NVIDIA technology, the harder it became to switch. Many investors still viewed NVIDIA as a gaming company. Few understood what was happening inside data centers. Few understood the importance of AI. The market had not yet connected the dots. Jensen often talked about endurance. He believed success wasn't about being the smartest, it was about staying in the game long enough. By 2015, the pieces were finally in place. Powerful GPUs, CUDA, data centers, machine learning, artificial intelligence. What looked like separate developments were about to combine into something extraordinary. For more than 20 years, NVIDIA had been preparing for an opportunity most people couldn't see. Now, the world was about to discover the true value of those decisions. And the company was about to enter the greatest growth period in its history. By 2016, artificial intelligence was no longer confined to research labs. Technology companies began investing billions. Governments took notice. Universities expanded AI programs. The world was entering a new era, and NVIDIA had a head start. One of the biggest opportunities appeared in transportation. Self-driving cars required enormous computing power. Vehicles needed to process cameras, sensors, maps, and real-time decisions. NVIDIA saw the opportunity early. Soon, AI spread far beyond cars. Healthcare, finance, manufacturing, logistics. Every industry wanted smarter systems. Every industry needed more computing power, and NVIDIA's chips became the preferred choice. As AI adoption increased, data centers expanded rapidly. Technology companies needed more servers, more processing power, more GPUs. What had once been a niche market suddenly became one of the fastest-growing industries in the world. Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Meta, the world's largest technology companies began purchasing enormous quantities of NVIDIA hardware. AI workloads required capabilities traditional processors struggled to provide. GPUs became essential. For years, NVIDIA had quietly built its position. Now investors finally began paying attention. Revenue climbed. Profits increased. the company's stock price surged. Wall Street started recognizing what Jensen Huang had seen years earlier. As NVIDIA's success became obvious, competitors reacted. Large technology companies began investing heavily in AI hardware. Some attempted to build alternatives. Others developed their own chips. The race intensified. But NVIDIA had a major advantage. The company wasn't just selling hardware. It had spent years building software, developer tools, research partnerships, and a massive ecosystem. Customers weren't buying a chip. They were joining a platform. As the company grew, Jensen Huang became one of the most respected leaders in technology. He remained deeply involved in product decisions, engineering discussions, long-term strategy. His leadership style combined technical expertise with relentless focus. Then came the global pandemic. Businesses accelerated digital transformation, cloud computing expanded, remote work increased demand for technology, and AI adoption accelerated even faster. NVIDIA benefited from multiple trends at once. To many people, NVIDIA still looked like a gaming company, but behind the scenes, data centers were becoming its future. The company was quietly transforming into the infrastructure provider for artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence was improving rapidly. Researchers were building larger models. Companies were collecting more data. Computing requirements increased dramatically, and every trend pointed in the same direction. More GPUs, more AI, more demand. After decades of preparation, NVIDIA found itself in the perfect position. The company had the technology, the ecosystem, the customers, and the experience. The next wave of growth was about to exceed anything the company had ever seen. For nearly 30 years, NVIDIA had been preparing for this moment. What happened next would transform the company from an industry leader into one of the most valuable businesses in human history. After decades of preparation, persistence, and strategic bets, the company is about to experience one of the most extraordinary growth stories in business history. For years, artificial intelligence had been growing quietly. Researchers knew its potential. Engineers understood its capabilities, but most people had never used it. Then everything changed. AI tools suddenly became accessible to millions. The technology that once lived inside research labs entered everyday life, and demand exploded. Businesses rushed to build AI products. Startups appeared overnight. Technology giants accelerated investments. Every company wanted a place in the AI revolution. But there was one problem. Everyone needed computing power, and most of that computing power came from NVIDIA. NVIDIA's advanced AI chips became the most valuable hardware in technology. Companies placed massive orders. Governments invested heavily. Cloud providers expanded infrastructure. Demand grew faster than supply. The world suddenly realized how important NVIDIA had become. To many people, NVIDIA's success looked sudden. But it wasn't. The company had spent decades building the foundation. CUDA, research partnerships, developer tools, AI infrastructure. Everything built over 30 years was now working together. As AI adoption accelerated, NVIDIA's revenue surged. Quarter after quarter, the numbers exceeded expectations. Analysts struggled to keep up. Investors rushed to understand what was happening. The company was growing at a pace rarely seen in business history. NVIDIA entered an exclusive group, the world's most valuable businesses. Companies that had once been much larger now found themselves chasing NVIDIA. The startup founded in 1993 had become a global giant. Many competitors tried to challenge NVIDIA. Some built hardware, others developed software. But NVIDIA's advantage wasn't one product, it was an ecosystem built over decades. Customers trusted the platform, developers understood the tools, and the network effect kept growing. People often ask what made Jensen Huang successful. Was it intelligence, vision, leadership? Perhaps. But one quality stands above the rest: patience. He invested in ideas years before they became popular. He stayed focused when others lost interest. The first lesson from NVIDIA is simple. Think long-term. Most businesses focus on the next quarter. Great businesses prepare for the next decade. Second, build ecosystems, not products. Products can be copied. Ecosystems are much harder to replace. The deeper customers integrate into your system, the stronger your competitive advantage becomes. Third, be willing to invest before success is obvious. When NVIDIA invested in AI, the market barely noticed. Years later, that decision changed everything. Fourth, persistence matters. NVIDIA survived near bankruptcy, intense competition, market crashes, product failures, and yet it continued moving forward. Finally, never stop learning. Technology changes, markets change, customer needs change. Companies that continue learning continue growing. The story of NVIDIA is still being written. Artificial intelligence continues evolving. New industries continue emerging. New opportunities continue appearing. The next chapter may be even bigger than the last. In 1993, 3 engineers sat in a restaurant discussing an idea. Most people ignored it. Few believed it would succeed. 30 years later, that idea helped power one of the biggest technological revolutions in human history. Success didn't happen overnight. It happened one decision, one risk, 1 year at a time. NVIDIA's journey reminds us that extraordinary success is often built long before the world notices. The company's greatest advantage wasn't technology alone. It was the willingness to think differently, invest patiently, and keep building when others couldn't see the opportunity. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more documentaries about the entrepreneurs, companies, and business strategies that change the world. Until next time, keep learning, keep building, and keep thinking bigger.